In today's video, we discuss how to determine what your maintenance calories are after a fat loss phase. What's going on, guys? This is Paul Rebella from ProPhysique.com, and I'm a little dressed up today, not wearing gym clothes, not wearing a tank top. We have some important meetings going on today. Actually, we're going over to our new house, and we're meeting with some contractors because we're going to have a little work done on the house before we move in. So I figured, why not look slightly normal? You know, my wife buys me some nice clothes, and I never really wear them because I'm always at the dang gym. But anywho's, let's talk about today's topic, which is, what do you do for maintenance calories after you've been in a fat loss phase? That's a very good question. And it's another one of those questions that I think everyone should know the answer to that. But here's what I want to talk about. Your metabolism. What is your metabolism? I've done lots of videos on metabolism, but maybe this is the first video you've ever watched with me in it. So I want to talk about what the metabolism is. The metabolism is basically the rate at which your body burns calories. Very vague, very bland, but that's just what metabolism means, all right? So as we consume food, it's the rate at which we burn them. And for anyone that's ever tried to lose body fat, what do? We reduce our calories because now we are burning more than we're taking in. What does the body do to make up for that? It uses things for fuel, such as body fat. It reduces it, right? If we eat more than our metabolism, too much more, we put on body fat, right? Depending on what we're doing, lifting weights, not lifting weights, whatever. These are very general things. I'm just talking very general terms so I can get to my point. So, as we diet, we start our diet at a certain calorie range. We reduce those calories. The metabolism, let's assume it's this line that I'm making up right here, is not static, right? So we've all heard people say, oh, it's boosting your metabolism, or it's suppressing your metabolism, or it's good for your metabolism, or it's bad for your metabolism. All that typically means is that this line that our metabolism is, when we diet, we spend time in a fat loss phase, when we reduce calories, when we increase cardio, when we increase that caloric deficit, the difference between what we're taking in and what our body's metabolism is set at, the metabolism adapts, right? It adapts. And a lot of people associate this with, oh my God, the horror, your metabolism is slower. But from an evolutionary perspective, from a survival perspective, if our metabolism did not adapt, we would starve to death a lot quicker. This is simply our body's ability to survive. So, when we're talking about a metabolism adapting down as we spend time in a fat loss phase, well, you can imagine if you diet for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, the metabolism is adapting down that time. So when we're talking about maintenance calories, what we often associate with maintenance is the calories that we started our diet at. Well, that's our maintenance. We started our diet, we used to eat 3,000 calories a day. 3,000 is maintenance. But here's the trick, friends. Maintenance is not static, it is very dynamic, right? So if we're talking very generally, our maintenance calories are actually going to come down as we diet longer and longer and longer. Now for those that do lots of dieting, do diet 6 months, and then they go off their diet and they go on vacation, they hit their diet goal, they hit their 20-pound weight loss, they went on vacation and they came back and then they ended up being up 25 pounds. That's why we have this problem. It's because when we spend a lot of time in a diet and we bring our metabolism down, our maintenance is now down here. Our maintenance isn't up here. If we eat up here, we're gonna put on body fat rather quickly, depending on how big that gap is. And then for someone that's not really aware of that, they just know that before they used to eat this diet of lettuce and string cheese and grapefruit, and they got really lean. Well, it wasn't the magic foods, it was the huge caloric deficit they created. But the next time they go to do this same diet, they don't get the same response. And why is that? That's because your metabolism has adapted down, maintenance is now down. So when we're talking about calculating maintenance calories after a diet, it's basically going to be very close to the calories that you ended that diet on. It's going to be slightly higher because obviously you were creating a deficit. So what I typically do with clients is use like a refeed day. That's usually going to be right around maintenance. So it's pretty easy for me to know what my client's maintenance is going to be. It might be tougher for you if you're not using a refeed day approach, if you're not paying attention to those kind of things. If you're just strictly dieting, at the end of your diet, you're going to notice that your maintenance calories are now pretty close to the numbers you've been dieting on, and that can be very difficult to deal with. But the key here is that you know that. So you know you can't just go back to eating what your maintenance calories were at the beginning of the fat loss phase, because that is no longer maintenance. That is a huge surplus. You can compound this with cardio. If you were doing no cardio and then now you're doing hours of cardio per week, a lot of people go, oh, I'll just stop doing the cardio and I'll stop the diet. This is where we run into the problem. We don't have a weight loss problem. We don't have a fat loss problem. What we have is a problem with keeping it off, or understanding that our bodies are dynamic and they change, and that now we are a different physical being than we were. And for a good reason. You have less body fat. Your body doesn't require as many calories to maintain its weight. You'll also notice things like the longer you diet, things come down, like your resting heart rate will reduce. That's because your body doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood around it. There's some pretty crazy things that go on in the body, but the most important thing for the purpose of this video is to understand that maintenance calories are not static. Don't use a term maintenance calories and just assume that's always maintenance calories for the rest of your life. No, it's always changing and adjusting and adapting. And if you have been someone who has always overeaten, you probably have higher maintenance calories. And if you're someone who's been chronically dieting since high school, always kind of on a lower calorie approach, you probably suppressed your metabolic rate a pretty good bit. And this is where we can get into some things like metabolic building, reverse dieting, focusing on that. And basically every time you diet down to a new body weight, if you want to be able to maintain it, you're going to have to do some reverse dieting and gradually allowing the metabolic rate to recover. And yes, I have noticed with myself, with my clients, that you can adjust your body composition over time through periods of dieting and fat loss and reverse dieting and metabolic building. These allow us to kind of shape the person we are. Now, in my opinion, it's probably just closer to what our bodies were meant to be doing, because I feel most people are under eating in the world right now that are probably watching my videos. Like fitnessy people tend to be consumed with being lighter and leaner for a long period of time. And I've discussed this before, but I know there's pressure on females from such an early age. I mean, even probably middle school for girls, like they worry about what dress size they're wearing and what they're eating, and they can get judged for it in school, and that carries on all through life. And so I think when we talk about reverse dieting someone that's been in that position, there's probably potential for their maintenance calories to be much higher than they are, because they've always kind of suppressed them. So we can get back into some higher calorie ranges. I have clients that are actually shocked. They probably feel a little bit guilty when they're eating a couple 100 grams of carbs per day and maintaining their weight. But I digress. The purpose of this video is maintenance calories. How do you determine them? That's how. It's basically what you got down to while you were dieting, probably a little bit higher because you were in a caloric deficit, but you don't want to jump those up to what you thought maintenance was when you first started the fat loss phase. All right, guys, this is Paul, ProPhysique.com, coming to you on Thursday. You guys have a great Thursday, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.